Welcome to the Bethel Assembly Sermon Podcast. We're so glad you're taking a minute to listen, and we pray this message from our pastors will be a blessing on your life this week.
You guys can all be seated. Good to be back with you this morning. I want to ask you a favor, and this is a big favor because I just sensed this morning preparing for this session with you guys. And what an honor for me to be with you. I've loved these mornings with you yesterday, this morning. But it's so critical what I'm going to share today. Not so much me because I'm nothing, but from God's word that I can't allow you to distract anybody. I just can't do it. Because the one you're sitting next to might be the one, because I was going to go in a whole different direction and a challenge and this or that about serving God. And I thought God changed everything for maybe even just one person. I don't know who that person is. And so I'm just going to ask you a favor. If you got to check out and sleep, you do it, but you'll not affect anybody around you. Because I believe that God's wanting to reach somebody in this room that he loves very, very much. And I just want to talk, I promise you, I'm going to ask Pastor Webb to come up the keyboard in just 20 minutes, just to go up the keyboard in 20 minutes. So I'm not even going to take long. But I want to talk about when dead dogs live again. And I want you to open up your heart, no matter what your morning's been like, whatever you're going through, to say, God, would you just help me to listen to this guy that talks way too fast and too loud? Would you help me to listen, Lord, because maybe this is for you. Maybe God had me change this whole message because of you. It's a verse in the Old Testament, a passage in 2 Samuel chapter 9. And I referenced it yesterday, actually, on the podcast with Pastor Webb. And it just got back in my spirit. But 2 Samuel 9 at verse 1, it goes like this. I'm simply going to tell you a quick Bible story. It goes like this. One day David asked, is anyone in Saul's family still alive? Anyone to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake? He summoned a man named Ziba, who had been one of Saul's servants. Are you Ziba, the king asked? Yes, sir, I am, he replied. The king then asked him, is anyone still alive from Saul's family? If so, I want to show God's kindness to them. Ziba replied, yes, one of Jonathan's sons is still alive. He is crippled in both feet. Where is he, the king asked? In Lodabar, Ziba told him, at the home of Machir, son of Amiel. So David sent for him and brought him from Machir's home. His name was Mephibosheth. Everybody say Mephibosheth. Come on, give it a try. 1, 2, 3, Mephibosheth. Come on, try, come on. 1, 2, 3, Mephibosheth. And so Mephibosheth, he was Jonathan's son and Saul's grandson. When he came to David, he bowed down low to the ground in deep respect. David said, greeting Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth replied, I'm your servant. Don't be afraid, David said. I intend to show you kindness to you because I promised your father Jonathan. I'll give you all the property that once belonged to your father Jonathan or your grandfather Saul, and you will eat with me at the king's table. But then verse 8, it says this. Mephibosheth bowed respectfully and exclaimed, who is your servant that you should show such kindness to a dead dog like me? I just want to tell you a story. It was many years ago that King David was in his palace, and God stirred up his memory. And David remembered a promise he made to Jonathan, that no matter all through my life, he said, I'm going to show kindness to your family. And now Jonathan is dead. Jonathan's father's dead. And years have gone by. And one day David says, wait a minute. I'm going to promise to Jonathan. And so we called his servant in and said, listen, is there anybody left in Saul's household that I can show kindness to? The servant came in, and David explained, I'm going to promise to Jonathan and to show kindness. Is there anybody? And the servant Ziba said, yes, he has a son named Mephibosheth. He is crippled in both feet. And because, how did he get crippled? When Mephibosheth was 5 years old, there was a great battle that took place. And one day, his grandfather died. His father got killed in battle. When news came back to Mephibosheth's nurse, he's only a 5-year-old little kid. When news came back that his grandfather died, his father died, the nurse was fearful for Mephibosheth. So she picked him up and she began to run. Bible tells us in 2 Samuel that when she was running, she dropped him. He was then crippled in both feet the rest of his life. Because he's crippled, and not only back then, but even now places overseas, if you're crippled, in many cases, in the natural, your life is over. You're going to live life as a beggar. You're not going to have any future. You're not going to, because you can't go to school, you can't work, so you live the life of a beggar. So what they did to Mephibosheth, when his feet went out crippled, his legs, he was sent to a place called Lodabar. Everybody say Lodabar. Come on, shout it out. Lodabar. One more time, come on, Lodabar. And so that's an awful place. That's a lonely place. It's a dark place. A place where nothing grows. A place of no hope. That's where the devil wants every young person to live. And there's a young person in this room this morning, and you're living this morning in the land of Lodabar. You think you live in North Carolina, but you actually live in Lodabar. It's a place of sadness, a place of depression. And it's in Lodabar that many young people commit suicide. It's in Lodabar that many young people get involved in crack cocaine and get involved in all kinds of terrible things. It's in that lonely place you wonder, am I ever going to get out? Do I ever have any hope in the future? And so imagine David gets the message that there's a guy named Mephibosheth and he's crippled in both feet. And David says, go get him. Now you say, Greg, why? This morning we're talking about a guy whose name is as crooked as his legs. Mephibosheth, the hard name is. Why are we speaking about Mephibosheth? Because there's some things about Mephibosheth that I believe translate to a young person that's in this room right now. And the reason I'm talking about this guy, number one, because somebody dropped him. The guy's crippled. The guy's in a place, a foreign place that's dark and lonely and dreary of the hope. He's in Lodabar because somebody dropped him. It wasn't because he did a bad thing. He's not in Lodabar because he killed somebody. He's not in Lodabar because he did some bad thing or robbed the bank, whatever. He's in a bad place because somebody dropped him. And I felt so strong this morning. I'm talking to somebody in this room, and you say, Greg, I'm here, and I got some struggles. And God's saying to you, it's not your fault. Some stuff we do in life, it is our fault. But there's somebody in this room, I just know it in my spirit. You're living in a bad place because somebody dropped you. What do you mean by dropping somebody? You can be dropped by parents. I remember being at a youth camp one time, and I sat at the table of this high school kid. He never would say 2 words, whatever. So I kept going to his table to eat lunch with him and try to get him to say things, crack some jokes, get him to laugh, whatever. And but never said boo. The last day of camp, he opens out of the blue. He looks at me. It says, "Why did my father die without telling me he ever loved me?" That's the first thing. He never said like, "How's your day?" Whatever. Never good morning. Never laughed at my stupid jokes. Out of the blue. He said, "My daddy died. He never once told me that he loved me." And I didn't have the answer. I said, "But I don't have any idea." But all week long, there are people that were looking at that boy like thinking he's, unfriendly. He's probably a bad kid. It just kind of had an edge about him. Had no idea that a father dropped his son. There's somebody in this room and somebody dropped you. Somebody said something to you that never should have been said to you. Somebody made fun of you. Somebody laughed at you. Somebody made fun of the way that you look. Somebody dropped you. I want you to see a picture right now. And Craig, you're my hero. I just gave him this picture about 5 seconds ago. I want you to see this picture. It comes up on the screen. That's my beautiful wife, Robert, is in the back this morning. And but in that picture, her name is Diana. I'll see Diana. We'll see her in just a matter of days now in Romania. When she came to the orphanage as a young girl, she was there, not because she's a bad girl, but somebody dropped her. When she came to the orphanage, she's now a beautiful young lady and maybe getting married very soon, but loves Jesus. This girl is so deep in her heart. We've known her from a little girl at the orphanage in Romania. You guys would love her. But when she first came to the orphanage, their first question was, is she a boy or a girl? Because her dad had shaved her head and her sister Anka. That they had marks all over their body of abuse. They had scratches in because the parents would send them out in the woods to get sticks and wood to make a fire in the winter. And so when they came to the orphanage, they looked like they were boys, whatever, but they were girls. The first night at the orphanage, when they began to run the hot water in the bathtub, they got in the bathtub as little girls. The little girl, and she cried in the bathtub. She never knew that water could be hot. She never knew there was a thing called hot water. She didn't want to get out of the bathtub. And I've watched her grow for years. It was recently in Romania. Her mom that just left her and abandoned her. Went to Spain, just left her kids, abandoned her. And came back to Romania. And Diana heard that my mom's back in Romania and maybe she'll come visit me. I sat with a girl and she wept. Her mother never called her. Never went to the orphanage, never sent her a card, never took her out for pizza. That's a girl that's been dropped. What about you? Because a parent could drop you, a friend may drop you. I want to be so respectful. I'm sure it would not happen here, but there are teachers that can drop young people. I know there's all exceptional teachers in this room, but when I was in school, I remember a teacher said something to me. She said something that wounded my spirit. She embarrassed me in front of the whole class in 8th grade. She was a good teacher. I don't think she meant it, but she said something that never should have been said. And I'm 66 years old. I'm talking about it like I was in 8th grade, whatever. And we're talking a lot of years ago, man. And I remember it right now as if it happened 5 minutes ago. Maybe a teacher, a parent, a friend, but somebody dropped you. So speaking of Mephibosheth, the guy's in a bad place. He's 5 years old. They say, dude, you're a little boy. You're going to Lodabar, a place of darkness and gloom and doom. Why? Because somebody dropped him. Another reason, speaking about Mephibosheth, not because somebody dropped him, but because somebody dropped him, he was now crippled. And like for Diana, for emotions, and she still carries things in her life because somebody dropped her. When somebody drops a young person, it can cripple you. Your emotions, how you react to people, how you interact, how you go to school. My heart breaks. I can't get out of my spirit thinking of a young person that may be in this room, that you've got stress and anxiety and fear about your future. And you look at others as I wish I could be them or whatever, because somebody dropped you. You're now crippled in your mind, in your spirit. Imagine Mephibosheth. After yesterday, you guys and go playing some hoop, whatever. And imagine he never ever played in a pickup basketball game. He never ever was chosen to play volleyball. He never once was in like a running race. Mephibosheth would always be on the sidelines. His legs did not work. He was crippled. Listen, again, you're amazing young people, but the devil wants to cripple you. He wants you to go through life feeling like you're not like other kids, whatever, that you'll never achieve, whatever. And I'm telling you that God's able to rescue you and do miracles in your life. But he was dropped by somebody, and Mephibosheth was crippled. I talked to Deanna. We've talked to her so many times, my gosh. And I can't wait to give her a hug the day we leave on Easter night, whatever. But she has a future. It's bright. She's a great cook. She's a hard worker. She's so full of love. And you see, baby, I love that girl as if she were my own daughter. And my heart breaks to think because somebody else dropped her. She's got some areas of her life where she's crippled. Maybe that's you. Your emotions, your thought life, how you approach life and your future. You can be in 5th grade and be emotionally crippled. You can be a high school kid and be emotionally crippled. That's why I'm talking about Mephibosheth. Imagine a 5-year-old boy. He didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't like a bad kid. It wasn't like, man, that kid, he's kind of bad. He was just a cute little boy, and somebody drops him. Now he's crippled. The kid will never, ever, ever walk again. He was dropped. He was crippled. But then it gets even worse. He was forgotten. The kid was forgotten. I can't think of anything worse, man, for a young person to feel like nobody even remembers me. Nobody sees me. Nobody really knows me. Nobody really loves me, whatever. When I was a youth pastor about 300 years ago, okay, when I wore my pants a lot lower. It's Kayla, right? When I was younger, you know how young people wear their pants really, really low? You ever see they're really low, and you see their underwear or whatever, they pull them really low, whatever. Well, you get older, you keep pulling your pants really high. It's a sin, actually. But when I was a youth pastor, when I wore my pants a lot lower, and there was we go on retreats or whatever. I always felt bad for the kid whose parents were always late picking them up after a youth event. That kid that would sit at a curb by the church and everyone else, the parents would be waiting and hug the kids. There was always that kid whose parents, I know some worked and some I'm sure would have been there but got schedules, but some just didn't give a rip, and the kids were forgotten. I watched Diana so broken when her mom came to Romania. And she said, my mother could not even send me a text message. She couldn't even send me a message. She could have come and take me for lunch. My mother has completely forgotten me. There's a student breathing in this room this morning. I don't have a clue what your name is. I know a thing about you, but I want you to know this. The devil wants you to go through life feeling like you're forgotten. He was dropped, Mephibosheth, at the age of 5 years old. Most Bible scholars feel he was in Lodabar for 15 years, which means, dude, how old are you, buddy? How old? You're 15 years old. Listen, you're in Lodabar. You've got nothing going for you. Your feet don't work. You're crippled. He went through his teenage years as a cripple, forgotten and dropped by somebody. Imagine all of those, no phone calls, no text messages, no, hey, we're going to Leggett's for breakfast. You want to go? No text message. Hey, we're going up to Williamston, the Jersey Mike's. Man, I love Jersey. You just imagine no phone calls, no parties, no. Hey, listen, we're going Friday. The Bethel Academy's got a basketball team, home game Friday, we're all gonna go, then we'll go get pizza. Nothing like that. The guy was forgotten. He was forgotten. And like it broke Diana's heart, I think there's so many other young people at the orphanage whose parents have completely forgotten them. You want to bless somebody? Remember them. You want to make a difference in someone's life? Just remember people. Listen, I'm going to go fishing for somebody. Listen, don't always sit with the same kid at the lunch table. I get all your friends. I get that. People are, find the kid that sits by themselves. God give us young people that look for those who are forgotten. That look for those are the ones that God will use to shake the world. That say, you know what, God, don't let it be just about me. God, and my clique and my friends. Give me a love for people. I seek out those who have been forgotten. So listen careful. We're going to be done in just a second. Don't tell other places how short I preach today, because I don't want that pressure when I go to their place. Mephibosheth. Why? Greg, it's Tuesday. Greg, lighten up. It's Tuesday. Come on. You got just 2 days with us. You're speaking about some kid that got dropped triple legs. What is up with Mephibosheth? Somebody dropped him, man. He was crippled. He stayed in that place for 15 stinking years, dragging his legs on dirty wooden floors in a dark place, a barren place. Oh, he lived in the land of Lodabar. And there are young people in North Carolina and around the world and in Romania that the devil says, I never ever want to let you get out of Lodabar. But I've come to tell you this morning that God's come to rescue somebody in this room out of the land of Lodabar. Listen to what happened here. We're going to be done with this as Pastor Webb comes. He was dropped at the age of 5 years old. He was crippled. His legs would never, ever, ever work again. He was forgotten for 15 stinking years, forgotten by people. Say, Greg, I'm a Christian. Well, I wouldn't give a nickel for someone that says they're a believer but ignores their friends and makes people feel less. I wouldn't give a nickel for your or my walk with God that says I'm a Christian, but I break the hearts of people, their spirit, by neglecting them or being unkind to them or treating them in a bad way or making. Greg, I'm a Christian. You're making fun of people. You're bullying people. I wouldn't give a nickel for that religion. God, give us young people that have such a heart after God. They look for the Mephibosheth who's been dropped and crippled and forgotten. But then it says this, and I'm done, is Pastor Webb place. Are you with me? You've been so great. Baby, I told you, these are amazing young people in this school. I'm ending with this. There's Mephibosheth one morning, like any other morning, maybe just lying on the floor. He never once got up and walked to the bathroom, never once got up, walked to the fridge. He had to crawl everywhere he went. But then one day, when King David said, is there anyone left in the household of Saul that I can show kindness? And when the word came to King David, well, yeah, there's Mephibosheth. He's crippled in both feet, the son of Jonathan. King David said to the servant, go get him. Go get him. Go get Mephibosheth. At that moment, Mephibosheth had no idea. When the king was saying those words, Mephibosheth was still dropped, lost, and forgotten and crippled. But then the day came. I want you to imagine this. Come on, play it out with me. Play it out with me in your mind. You just picture him in the house all alone again. And there comes a loud knock on the door. A loud knock on the door. I don't think Mephibosheth was used to having company. I believe that when there came a knock on that door, there probably was some anxiety. Probably like a sense how a young person feels, or feels neglected, and they feel like an outcast. They feel like, I don't want to go to school. I don't fit in. I'm different. I look different. I act different. Whatever. And then when someone approaches you, that person, when they're dropped, crippled, and forgotten, that they can feel like awkward, not knowing how do I whatever. I think Mephibosheth probably was very fearful when that door knocked that day. But I want you to listen careful to this. I want you to picture and imagine when Mephibosheth drags his crippled legs along the floor to the door. I believe with a heart gripped with fear. Who is it? Could it be a robber, a bandit? Just come in, take. What can I do? I can't fight him off. I'm crippled. He opens up the door a crack, and he sees a large contingent of soldiers outside his door. I picture him looking up, thinking from the floor, What do you want? Why are you here? Why? What? Are you at the wrong house? And I can imagine the servant of the king saying to Mephibosheth, are you Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, grandson of Saul? Are you Mephibosheth? And I picture him probably fearful, because when you've been dropped, crippled, and forgotten, sometimes you want to forget who you are. You want to forget who you are. And sometimes you begin to live. Nowadays, people, they live it out virtually. A lot of young people dropped, crippled, and forgotten. They live a life on their phone, or just living a virtual life, whatever. They want to forget even who they want to just virtually live, translate somewhere. But you're living in the land of Lodabar. Are you Mephibosheth? And I picture him saying, yeah, it's me. It's me. My name is Mephibosheth. My daddy was Jonathan. My grandfather was Saul. Why have you come to my house? What are you doing here? Why? And I can't imagine the weight of the words that hit Mephibosheth's heart when the servant looked at Mephibosheth and said the last thing he ever dreamed he'd hear. Crippled, dropped, forgotten. 15 years isolated, alone, in a terrible place to live, Lodabar. And the king says, I've been sent by the king. I've been sent by the king because the king wants you. The king has requested your presence. The king wants you at his table. I don't know who you are, but the hand of the Lord is all over your life, girl. I'm telling you, God's going to use you like you never dreamed God could ever use you. I don't know one thing about you, but I see it on you. God's going to use you to reach some Dianas that need to know I'm dropped, crippled, and forgotten. But God's going to use me. Imagine him hearing the words, the king has requested your presence at his table. And then he said what most young people will say who've been crippled, dropped, and forgotten. What would the king want? What would the king want with a dead dog like me? Listen, we're nobody. But I want to look to every young person in this room who feels like a dead dog in their spirit. I want to tell you this morning in the name of Jesus Christ that Jesus can make dead dogs come back to life again. You are not called to live a life of a dead dog. Why? Because the king wants you. The king wants you. Say, Greg, well, how did he get home? He couldn't just run in and throw on a pair of blue jeans and change his shirt and sneakers. The kid is 20, he's crippled. They carried him back to the king's palace and to the table. There are great young people we've met. Diana, there was a season she needed to be, now she helps others and she serves others and God uses her. I just love her heart and her spirit and the life that Diana has. But there's seasons in the life of young people, they need for somebody to carry them So this isn't about some guy coming to your chapel saying, hey, you're a load of art. Man, get up. Come on, knock it off. Get back to where you belong. If you've been dropped, tripled, forgotten, you can't do it. But there's a God that says, I'll come and I'll carry you. I'll pick you up and bring you where you thought you'd never go. I'll rescue you, I'll restore you. And the king says, I'm giving you all the land your granddad had, and all the land I'm restoring. Imagine, he had nothing for 15 years, and now the king says, I want you, and you're getting all the land. And then the king says, every single night, you will eat at the king's table. You will eat at the king's table every night. I'm done with this. Imagine every night when the dinner bell would ring, Imagine this, imagine this, imagine this. Every single night when the dinner bell would ring, people would come and the king's court, they come in their uniforms, their fancy clothes, and they'd walk in, whatever, and they'd take their place, and they'd sit at the dinner table, whatever. But imagine during dinner time, you'd hear something clunky. All of a sudden, you'd hear this thought as you hear Mephibosheth, he'd make his way to the table and whatever. They're already there, but every night, his legs never got healed and whatever, but he makes his way and he gets over and sits at the table. And once he sat at the table, he looked like everybody else at the table. Once he sat at the table, he looked like it. Why? Because at the table, the tablecloth would cover his crippled legs. And anyone that ate at the king's table would walk in and see Mephibosheth and think, man, he's just like anyone else in the room, because the cloth of the table covers his crippled legs. Listen, and I'm done. God never did heal the crippled legs of Mephibosheth. God may never heal her family back in Romania. But you know what God has done? He's covered with his grace, with his love, the hurts, the wounds, the fears. You know, before we ever met, Diana, you know what? She's got no dad in her life, no mom in her life. My wedding, what's going to happen? Who's going to think about parents, teachers, and your daughter, whatever gets married, the excitement, whatever. But my wife and I, we get the joy. We get the joy. We're going to buy that wedding dress for the glory of God. I'm not bragging. It's because it's a joy for us. We get to sow into that girl's life to let her know you were once dropped for years, but the King has come to rescue you. God has come to set you free. So God just takes the hurts in her life and he covers them with his grace. And God says, you were dropped, forgotten, and crippled, but God says, I have come to rescue you.
Thank you for joining the Bethel Assembly Sermon Podcast. For more information on our ministry, visit our website at askewvilleassembly.com.